Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Joe Gould. I'm here with Adam Winters. And not a movie today. Not a real movie, at least, but a television pilot that was the length of a movie. Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. Aired from 93 to 1997.
Yeah, and I'd say it's almost appropriately named episode, Pilot, because it has a lot to do with flying.
It does. There's a lot going on in this first episode. It feels like they're cramming a bunch of stuff in. It works. I think it works. But it's got a lot going on.
So clarify for me, is this the first straight up TV episode we've tried to tackle on this podcast series?
Probably. I mean, The Mold Man went to theaters, though
Yeah.
it was later aired.
Yeah.
I'd have to think about it, but I think so.
Because
I
we've
think
done
so.
TV movies and TV specials, but this is a TV episode. But it's double the lengths of the normal Lois and Clark episodes. So we figured, why not?
It kind of works, and I think we wanted an excuse to watch some of the show. Actually, this week I've watched the first 7 episodes. Actually, I take that back. First 9 episodes. So,
Oh, look at you. So I watched, I bought it on Vudu a few years ago. I watched through the first season, and then I got a little bit into the second and third. My memories are the first season is easily the best. And I think a lot of that is John Shea as Lex Luthor being a regular character in the show.
Yeah, and I watched this show when it came out. I was watching it week after week, kept up with it. Again, never really a big Superman fan, but superhero stuff was just really rare in the early 90s, especially if it was even to be. I mean, this would have been on the heels of the Hulk movies, not too far past. And I think what I love about this show so much is the casting is just superb.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Elite.
from top to bottom. Yeah.
Elite.
This is even the characters that didn't make it to season 2, like Kat. Are just fun to watch.
I forgot they cut her after Scoggins, like Tracy Scoggins, her name. Yeah, she's great. And I remember this show had excellent guest stars, but the one thing I will hold against this pilot, without getting too far into spoilers, Lex Luthor's assistant. In the series, it becomes Tony Jay, the late great Tony Jay, who has a voice that can send a shiver down your spine. In this episode, there's some kind of, I don't know, a snake charmer is his right-hand man.
Does he appear other than that one scene?
There is another. I forget why, but he's standing near Lex Luthor, and it's another scene. He's just kind of there.
No, I don't think they picked that back up either. But, he's a snake. What can you say?
I mean, if this pilot had Tony Jay, it might have had everything. If they'd worked him into this somehow.
So this show has Dean Cain playing Clark Kent and Superman, and he does a fantastic job. He probably doesn't get the credit he deserves today just because he's a little bit polarizing, and I don't think he has a lot of friends in Hollywood. We'll just say that.
That only came about recently, though. Like, I guess, 2020 or a little bit before on his Twitter.
Probably. Nothing scandalous or anything. He's just a little more right-winged than most of the people in Hollywood, so they don't want to play with him anymore.
He used to do, I don't know if he did big roles after Superman, but he was a frequent guy to host a lot of stuff. Like, there are actors who just get jobs as hosts of other programs, and I remember Dean Cain being that for a while.
Ripley's Believe It or Not was on from 99 to 2003.
Okay, a little bit of a run there.
I guess he was in Supergirl for 6 episodes.
I'd forgotten that. He's the dad. I think he was the dad of the Earth's dad of Melissa Ben What's-Her-Name. Teri Hatcher, of course, did a lot more TV. Desperate Housewives, which I have no intention of ever watching, but she did a lot of commercials for a while with Howie Long. I don't know if they were selling shoes or what. But
I can't remember. I watched a few clips of Desperate Housewives. Never a full episode by any stretch.
Teri Hatcher has a good ability to do drama and humor at the same time.
Yeah. So in the little bit that I watched, I walked away not surprised that it was popular, but having not watched enough to really understand what the real plot of the show was, other than just the name of it. But and then Lane Smith is the Perry White, in my opinion.
Oh, man. Legend. Oh, gosh. Why is he the perfect Perry White? What makes him the best?
I don't know. So he reminds me a lot of the Perry White from The Adventures of Superman with George Reeves. But he reminds me basically like an updated version of him. This show as a whole actually feels a lot like that. Like if you took that show and you plopped it down in, the 1990s and you just updated all the characters and all the sarcasm and things like that, I think it fits a lot. It's not the same, don't get me wrong. But I feel like there's It is the new adventures of Superman.
And, we'd have to get ahead of ourselves. Most of the series, until it got later on, it used science fiction very sparingly and focused on a little bit of crime drama like the 50s show did. This pilot episode, I think, is very grounded in the believability aspect.
Yeah. And really, at least the first 7 or 8 episodes that I've watched, they're all pretty grounded. There's one where there is a formula that makes you smart, but like that's not that crazy, you know. But now Lane Smith's great. You know, they update the Great Caesar's ghost line to be Great Shades of Elvis.
He's a big Elvis fan in this show. I don't know why.
Well, according to the wiki, Deborah Levine, she didn't think a Southerner would ever say Great Caesar's ghost, so they made him an Elvis fan.
So I was wondering, is Perry White confirmed a Southerner in Metropolis? And I just thought that was the way Lane Smith played it in his own accent and all that. But is that part of his backstory here?
I mean, I don't think you can pretend that Lane Smith, I don't know he could play a Northerner.
Well, you remember Mighty Ducks 1, where he was the Minnesota Pee Wee evil hockey coach?
I cannot say that I watched that movie. Sorry.
Okay, we'll have to consider Mighty Duck Marathon another time, I guess.
And then Michael Landis got to play Jimmy Olsen for 1 season, and I think he does a good job. I don't agree with them.
They thought he looked too much like Dean Cain is the story.
Yeah, and it's a little bit there, but I think they're distinct enough. But he's pretty good. You got Tracy Scoggins as Cat, basically the, what do you call it?
Yeah, the society columnist.
Yeah.
So she was in I don't know her comic history other than they played her up when John Byrne rebooted the series in the 80s, and they were trying to put more of a focus on the Daily Planet staff, but this is probably her first public, if you're going to expose the Superman cast to the public, this is probably the first time they make a point to do her that way.
Yeah, and I think she's fun as a character. I can see why they got rid of her. I don't know that she really fits in with the vibe they're going for the Daily Planet with what Perry White's wanting to do. But she's good playing off of Lois.
Yeah, they make her a foil.
Is jealous of her, even though she doesn't really want to be or doesn't have a good reason to be.
And she's attracted to Clark in season 1, but then as Lois and Clark get closer in season 2, I guess they decided there was no room for her to still play that role as the one who actually did not only appreciate Clark, but wanted to, was Clark.
I don't know that she really wanted to. I think she liked the chase.
You're probably right. You got a point on that. She's just kind of putting on the show for appearances, I guess. Huh? Yeah.
Then you got Kay Callan and Eddie Jones as Martha and Jonathan Kent. They're great, especially for the late 90s. They're perfect.
So one thing I appreciated about the John Byrne comics is the desire to not only keep Ma and Pa Kent alive, but to work them in as a large part of developing who Clark Kent is and Superman. And this show goes a lot farther than probably any other Superman media prior. Again, I haven't seen the Superboy show, but keeping Ma and Pa Kent even after Superman is established in Metropolis, part of the show.
Yeah. Well, and it's good because in this show, since they don't have a budget, they need Superman to go talk to his parents a lot, get advice. So they're good advice givers. And then, as you mentioned, John Shea, I think that's how you say his last name, as Lex Luthor. I feel like he is to Luthor as Mark Hamill is to the Joker.
No, really? You're crazy.
I think he's the best, man. Name a better Lex Luthor.
Well, I mean, are we not going to talk about Gene Hackman?
Well, Gene Hackman wasn't given much to work with. He was a real estate developer in that movie.
So, if you want to go voice, I feel like Clancy Brown has him beat on the animated series, but you do have a point on
the way he carries himself.
So I'd say he's a lot better than Eisenberg or whoever played him in Man of Steel. And I guess we'll see what this new movie does with him.
I have no optimism for the new movie.
But John Shea embraces this role, and as I understand, he refused to shave his head because his comment to the production people was, a man as smart as Lex Luthor with as enough resources as Lex Luthor would find a way to fight against premature baldness. I think that was his line. Now, he becomes bald later in the show. That's kind of after he kind of dies and comes back. So that's a little bit of a different thing going on there. So the one character who is probably less developed than everybody else is Superman, because Superman does not exist until very, very late in this episode's runtime.
Yes, and this is a show that really does make it very clear the entire time that Clark is the person, Superman is the mask, so to speak.
They even used the word mask at various times.
Yeah, and they flipped the script on the visual too. So in this show, Clark Kent has the wavy hair and Superman slicks his hair back.
That is the boldest design decision they had on this show, to do that hair in reverse.
I think it works. I think it makes it less obvious that Clark is Superman.
I shouldn't say he changes his body posture, because he always does try to stand really straight and tall when he's Superman. It's not near to the exaggeration as Christopher Reeve, but again, for Christopher Reeve, he had to invent a second version of Clark Kent, other than who he grew up as. He had to invent Big City Clark Kent, who is a fake. But in this, Clark Kent is a small-time guy just trying to make it in the big city without getting put in a laboratory and dissected.
Yeah, and he wants to have a life and a family eventually, and he just wants to be a normal person, or feel like a normal person.
And he tries to do good deeds throughout, and then he decides, I need a mask or a costume that I can go do the superhero, or, well, he doesn't use that word. How does he even describe it?
Well, help people. Yeah, and he feels guilty when he's not able to protect people because he has to be Clark.
So yeah, Paul Kent here is handled much better than the Dukes of Hazzard guy in Man of Steel. They handle that a lot better here than I think they do in the Man of Steel movie.
Wasn't that Kevin Costner?
Oh, yeah.
That Dukes of Hazzard.
No, he's on the Smallville show, which I haven't seen much of. Okay, the Dukes of Hazzard, I think it's Bo Duke in Smallville is the dad. And
Okay.
Kevin Costner is the dad in Man of Steel, but this Paul Kent handles it a lot better than, just hold up, let me get sucked into this tornado. It's like,
don't help me.
Man, I still can't get over that, how weird that whole thing was.
Yeah. So overall, this show was pretty successful. I think it did flirt with getting renewed probably 3 times, but it had 4 seasons, 88 episodes, was in syndication for a while. It's been on DVD. A Blu-ray set's about to come out. I've already pre-ordered that.
Is it a complete series on Blu-ray?
Yeah. Yep.
Huh. I'll have to look at that.
Yeah. You could call it a cult classic just because a lot of people haven't seen it.
It was a big deal back in 1992, so much so that it even dictated the direction the Superman comics had to take.
Oh, yeah. There's always problems getting people married in these things.
Yeah, and that gave us Doomsday and the Death of Superman, because they wanted to time up the wedding of Lois and Clark in the comics and the TV show.
Yeah. Ugh. I would hate to be the comic book people stuck in that one.
Hey, I'll say this. When the comic book finally got them married, it was a real marriage. And when they finally do it in this show, they were bait and switching the audience. But they do end up married. But the big wedding episode was a bait and switch.
Yeah. Yeah. So, episode 1. You want to chat about it a little bit?
Pilot. Yeah, so we've described the character ideas, but go ahead and try to summarize some plot for us on this.
Oh, goodness. There's a lot going on here. So,
there is.
So I will say I love the opening of the show. So you have this undercover person coming back to the planet. They kind of look like a skinny hobo construction worker of sorts. And you see that it's Lois undercover. And she has a fake mustache. She's taped up her lady area to make herself look flat. And you see her getting out of this contraption. And it's just really funny and really odd. And you could tell they're setting the tone with Lois that she is a go-getter for sure. So she uncovers a car theft ring. They don't come back to that. There's a lot of that kind of thing in the show where it's bouncing around all over the place.
Yeah.
And then Perry White, everybody's celebrating her. He says, no raise, get back to work.
Times are tough. He's a good body language actor, Perry White is, as well as his voice.
Oh, yeah. He's got a little Elvis in him, a little charisma. And we find out here that Lois has been trying to get an interview with Luthor. That's a recurring theme throughout the episode.
Mm-hmm. And the season. I mean, their relationship. Yeah.
And then it shows Clark getting off the bus with his initial bag. Bougie Smallville right there. And immediately there's a runaway bus that he has to deal with. And he uses his hand to stop it. And a black lady sees him stop it. So you have the beginning of that thread where he's just getting seen a lot as Clark, acting super-like.
It's interesting they don't at least play around with that as a news story about a pedestrian reportedly stopping, things like strange occurrences people attribute to a guy with glasses.
No, and it's interesting, too, that you would choose to have the pilot with so little super suit.
Oh yeah, it's in it for what? Is it 10 minutes, if that?
Maybe. Yeah, but I mean, it's an hour and a half episode. This isn't like your pilot's just normal 45 minutes and you're saving
Yeah.
it for the end. And then we see a homeless looking guy bust into the Daily Planet, and he claims that the messenger is going to explode. And the messenger is not a person. He's not going to explode. But there's this rocket ship that I will say they could have done a little better job keeping the plot thread a little more clean.
Yeah,
It gets a little
it's a
confusing.
bit cumbersome. I still don't quite know how all the conspiracy connects of who's working for who. Yeah.
But the messenger, I believe, is the rocket that's going to take a bunch of people up to the space station,
Prometheus. Take that, Ridley Scott.
Yeah. And he says it's going to blow up. He leaves a file of credentials for Lois to rummage through. Then he gets escorted off property, of course. And then we get the introduction to Kat, who flirts with Clark. Well, I take that back. Clark then arrives at the planet. So I wrote down introduced to Kat. I don't know what she did in that scene.
Well, he gets an interview with Perry White that I guess is scheduled, and I don't remember who he meets at that point.
So Clark, he's looking for a job. Apparently, he had a recommendation from an old friend in Smallville, Professor.
Yeah,
Smallville has a lot of stuff in it. I'll say
it
that.
does. It's weird how big a deal Smallville seems to be in every Superman universe. Like, just a lot of people pass through or have connections to Smallville.
Yeah, and he tells Kent that they're the greatest paper in the world, and he keeps getting interrupted in his speech as he's making his point, and he gets frustrated because all these people keep busting into the room, and he's like
undermining what he says to some degree. Yeah.
And then Clark gives him a recommendation for help with his blood pressure, some kind of weird leaves.
Papa leaves?
Something like that.
Yeah, Papua New Guinea, I don't know. Yeah.
And then some point here, Perry scolds Lois for ditching the mood piece on a theater that he assigned to her, because now she's looking at this Prometheus thing. And then Clark basically doesn't get the job, gives Perry a nice firm handshake. Perry's hand is hurt.
He probably thought he was having a heart attack.
Yeah. And then Clark goes to his crappy hotel room and calls home.
It's pretty bad. It's an apartment, isn't it? It's like Spider-Man Peter Parker apartment. Spider-Man 2, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess it is, but it's got a payphone in it.
Oh, it has a really? Huh.
So it may be the case that he's staying in a hotel until he finds an apartment. He gets that a few episodes later.
A motel, yeah. Yeah, okay. I see that.
So Clark's sulking in bed. He's all sad. Wah, wah, wah. And then he sees this loose bulb is bothering him on the ceiling, so he floats up to it to tighten it up. I'm not overly impressed with the special effects in this show. At least season 1.
I like that shot. You know, it's cool. Just doing the walk on the wall thing. It's been done before.
That's different. That's a different effect. Here he just floats. He's laying down. He floats up.
Oh, okay.
And then he gets up and paces and walks on the wall. And that actually was interesting. It doesn't look great, but what they did is they had a rotating room.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought the camera was tilted.
I was looking at this for a while, and eventually I looked it up because I was trying to figure out how they mix and match the camera because there was no transition. And it's because basically the room was rotating, so the camera didn't have to be played with, so to speak. He just had the time when he got to the edge, and that's why it looks a little funny.
I guess they probably didn't use that again after this pilot, or I don't remember him doing that casual wall walk.
They would have had to make a new room. They could have maybe used the machine, but they would have had to make a new room.
Right.
So then Lois gets home. She lives with her sister, Lucy.
Yep.
Oh, the timing. We just saw Lucy.
Yeah.
She's grown up.
No longer at that weird boarding school run by wizards and witches.
Lucy tells her she needs to get out more and find a guy before she gets old.
Which would be like 36, because I think they say that she's supposed to be 26.
Something like that. Yeah, 26, 27.
I always thought they were older when I watched the show. I don't know. Man, whatever.
I mean, maybe. I'm not sure. He was born in 66, so he would have been right around 28, 29, something.
66? Okay.
July 31st, 1966.
Right.
So actually he would have been 27 when it aired. Probably 26 when it filmed.
About right then. That's what they're going for. Mid-20s. Yeah.
Neither of them aged for like 20 years. Anyway, she tells her she's going on dates, not in job interviews with the guys.
Mm-hmm.
Needs to meet a super guy.
Oh, there's a foreshadowing.
Yeah. And then she goes to bed and cries watching a sad soap opera.
Did they invent that soap opera just for that scene, or is it something that exists that I'm not aware of?
I'm not aware of it. It looked pretty cheap.
Yeah, that's every soap opera. Yeah. Oh, well.
And then we get Clark He's going to go get that story that Lois turned down. Keep the theater
Mm-hmm.
on this spot. We don't need a parking lot. Keep the theater on this spot. We don't need a parking lot. That's a protest going on at
Yeah.
the theater that they're tearing down, I guess, for a parking lot. And you see someone, it's hard to tell if Clark notices them, but someone's looking for B, and she's in the theater, which is about to be torn down, reciting lines. And Clark eventually does notice, and he uses heat vision to destroy the engine of the machine that's going to tear it down. Then he goes in and listens to her performance. He speed types a story where his laptop almost catches on fire.
Oh man, that must have been. What year you think that laptop was?
It looked about 1995, I'd say.
Well, again, this thing is like 92, so that's a really. It's got to be an early laptop. Probably running Windows 3.1.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been 10. We had a computer. We definitely didn't have a laptop.
I wonder if it was a word processor. You remember that used to be a thing, a dedicated word processor.
That's true. Probably was. Well, Perry's very impressed with the piece. He gets the job, values initiative.
Yeah.
And then they kind of go back to the rocket story. It catches on fire. Lois wants to investigate. She wants a task force. Perry White says, you get Kent. She's not happy.
How many reporters get a task force? Is that a thing that's done or was done among late 20th century newspaper reporters? They get a task force?
Well, they act as if Lois is the greatest, so I think if it was a thing, she might have got one. But she got Clark. So I don't know.
Okay.
So they're going to go interview the homeless guy. She kind of gives him a talking to on the way out the door about expectations, and he recognizes that she likes to be on top.
Oh, the first of our double entendres that are worked into this script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of risque for 1992 ABC.
And I think they wanted to play that line without actually going into anything objectionable, actually on screen. But they wanted to make that kind of thing that, we want the adults or the young adults watching this. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, too, is that Clark Kent in this show is not like a goody two-shoe. I mean, he isn't, he's a very moral individual, but he's not above sarcasm, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'd hesitate on the goody two-shoe remark, but he's not a doormat, right? That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, no, he goes back and forth with Lois. They are verbally on par with one another, so they can take it and they can receive.
Yeah, verbal fencing. Everybody loves that.
Yeah. And they get to the homeless guy's house.
Hey.
And I love it now. They get to the homeless man's house. Dr. Platt opens the door holding a crowbar. And then they say they want to talk to him. He gives a very sciencey story about heating devices and cooling systems, which sounds pretty incoherent, but Clark fully understands. Clark knows everything in this show.
So I want to interject here. There's a backstory that I don't know if the series ever explores in great detail, but it sounds like Clark Kent has been a world traveler, perhaps even comparable to a young Bruce Wayne, before he gets to Metropolis.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, going soul searching for a few years after college. I mean, he would have been 26, 27, so he would have had some time.
And if he wanted to go, he could fly anywhere in a few minutes and just end up at some place.
Platt gives them all his report, which is on napkins and sticky notes. And we find out that the reason he's kind of gone nuts is that he could have saved the whole world from all diseases had he made it to Prometheus. And we find out later that his daughter is sick. I don't know if we knew that in this scene, because it's implied that his family left him. That's how he describes it.
Yeah.
Which we'll see later on is not quite accurate. So then they go see Dr. Baines, who is a lady, who we find out later is working with Lex Luthor to sabotage all this stuff.
Antoinette Baines. But it looks like she's also working for the rocket program that's run by the United Nations, or whatever that organization equivalent is.
Yeah. So she's kind of a double agent, so to speak. And she doesn't want the press to see the wreckage. She does flirt with Clark. It's a little unclear what her motivation is there, because she would never actually want to show the wreckage. So it's a little unclear, but they're able to use that to get Lois jealous a little bit. And Clark does like being flirted with in the show.
He seems to like Antoinette Baines.
Yeah. Whether he's a little naive at the beginning of the show. I think it's not all the time, but there are certain people that he has a little naivety about, it seems.
Which is odd, because for some reason he's the only one who sees through Lex Luthor as a scumbag, even though I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why he's able to do that based on the information available to him.
Well, that's kind of Luthor's MO. So she says that she'll try to get them Platt's file, but basically he drank a lot, he did a lot of drugs, and he set fire to a lab, and that's why he got fired.
Yeah, It happens to the best of us.
Yeah. And then Lois and Clark have a discussion on their way out about how jaded Lois is and not trusting people. And then they get back to the office. Kat meets Clark again, invites him out. Doesn't want him to be lonely. So going back to the thread of Lois having a hard time finding men, she's trying to find a date for Luthor's ball and not having a lot of luck with that. Clark says he can get a tuxedo. She reluctantly asks him. He says he's going to go to bed early unless it's a date. Then she kind of scolds him and says, I'm going to land a one-on-one interview. I am not going to go get a hickey behind the dairy freeze with you.
Is this where she introduces her 3 professional rules that she lives by, supposedly?
I don't think so.
Okay.
That comes, I think, it comes up in a little bit. But
Yeah.
I do remember writing that down. So Clark, he agrees. He goes and runs to get a tux. On his way to do that, he floats and gives a bum some money. The bum thinks he's an angel. So it's our second time of him doing something super and getting noticed. This time it's by an actual homeless guy. There's a lot of homeless people in this show.
A lot of homeless people in real life. They're usually waiting at the bottom of the interstate ramp, asking for money.
Anyways, he flies home to Kansas and gets himself a tux. Awkward flight effect.
I was okay with that. When he's flying in his sports coat, I thought it looked okay.
Not enough flapping in the wind.
All right.
So he has dinner with his parents, watches the stars with his dad before returning to the city, has a conversation with his dad about not fitting in and having to control himself all the time. I believe I read in the notes that dialogue and that scene was really what got him the role.
Okay. We should point out that when he flies in his street clothes a long distance, he wears those things out and has to get his mom to repair it.
Oh, yeah, he tells his dad he can't hide forever, needs to figure out how to be Clark and still use his powers for good. So that thread keeps coming up over and over. Then we're at the event, and Luthor emerges for the first time. Wrote down perfect casting.
Man, there's so many good lines of dialogue that are established in this whole scene where Lois and Clark meet Luthor, and it's revisited at the end of the episode. But yeah, go ahead with that.
And Lois gets there, and she confronts him, says, "Why haven't you returned my calls?" And he looks at her up and down. He says, "I won't make that mistake again." And Clark gets a little excited and hovers off the ground a few feet. Gets control of himself, gets back on the ground. So Luthor wants her pretty bad. They flirt their way to agreeing to a dinner interview. They dance a little bit. And then Clark, he cuts in. Lois is not amused.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
That's a ballsy move right there. Knowing what her goals are in this thing.
And it's Lex Luthor that he's cutting in on.
Yeah. So then the natural reaction to that would be, "Why did you do that, Clark?" And then they run off to go snoop in Luthor's office.
Yeah, I didn't quite
Clark
understand the transition there. Yeah. No, Jimmy Olsen is there too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's there. He doesn't really do anything in this scene, though. But he's talking to Clark when Lois is dancing with Luthor. So they're not stooping too long. Luthor finds them, points a sword at Clark's throat.
They have a discussion about Attila the Hun, Alexander the Great, and Darius. Yeah. I forget which Darius it was they talk about.
Yeah, but Clark again knows everything about everything. So he surprises him with his knowledge, and I think Luthor's kind of impressed. Lois skirts around the issue of why they're in the room. Luthor goes to show them the view. It's really pouring outside too. I kind of wonder if that was on planned or not. And he says, "I have to admit, I really love the fact that everyone in the city has to look up to me." So he's at the highest point.
Yep. Gotta look up to see me.
Yeah. And then he says, "Let's go back to the party. I've got an announcement."
Oh.
And here he announces that he has decided to give full financial support to build a private space laboratory, Space Station Luthor. And he shows an Iron Man-esque model.
What a great name. Yeah. Space Station Luthor. Prometheus. He's smart enough. He could have come up with something better, but he wouldn't because he wants his name on it.
Absolutely. And the room gives a round of applause. Clark looks skeptical. And then they show Luthor in a room with a fireplace. He's laying on the floor, sipping some whiskey, smoking a cigar.
What a weird scene. Weird.
And then a snake slithers in. Can't tell initially because it's kind of standard definition what kind of snake, but eventually you see that it's a cobra or a king cobra of some sort. There's an Indian man at the doorway. I'm saying Indian. I don't know. He's something.
Yeah.
Eventually Luthor recognizes it behind him. He stares at it. They stare at each other, having a staring contest. Luthor and the snake. Tense music. The snake backs off.
Yeah.
Apparently it's a training exercise of sorts. He is the king snake. I suppose that's what the point of the scene is.
Yeah, this.
Yeah. Yeah. So Lois and Clark, they get back to work. On their way to work, actually, there's a problem in the sewers. Clark has to save another guy who recognizes him, gets his suit dirty also. Lois says, "You always got to bring a change of clothes to work. Clark, you're disgusting looking." So Lois is kind of hitting a dead end on the story, but she has a plan to get a story. And I didn't write down what the plan was, but I think it basically involves snooping. And then we see the evil lady with Lex. I forgot her name.
Dr. Baines. Antoinette Baines.
And she's with Lex, and looks like they've recently had some relations.
Yeah, it plays it up like she's going to be somewhat of a significant character in the resolution of either this episode or a later episode, but no.
And she says she's going to end her Platt problem, and Luthor says that he will deal with the reporters, and you can tell there's jealousy between her and Lois.
Yeah.
To some degree. So Lois and Clark are trying to get Platt's report together. It's not going well. Clark goes for Chinese takeout. You have some really sad graphics of a white dot going across a CGI globe.
Graphic. No, I like that.
This is like a school globe. Like when you put on a desk.
That's what makes it nice. That's what takes me back. It's just, he's flying across a little CGI globe. He goes to Shanghai and he comes right back.
Well, Lois is impressed with the food, not so much with the fortune. And then they go to find Platt, and he's dead. Been electrocuted with his feet in a water bucket, or a bucket of water, however you'd like to say it.
Pretty grisly little scene there, even though they use a lot of subtlety on what happened.
Yeah. No, it looked nice. And it's deemed a suicide. And then Clark lectures a cop who makes a joke about it.
Yeah,
He's kind of angry that they didn't protect him. And Lois says, "What were we supposed to do? And now we just need to prove him right." And she tells Clark to get a few hours sleep, and she'll come pick him up. And then you see him on the phone.
Shirtless scene coming up. Yeah. Shirtless scene.
Clark's in a towel, calls home. I don't know why they would choose that time to call home. And then asks his mom to make him a suit. Then Lois arrives to pick him up. He's not dressed yet. And her line is, "I said 9. I thought you'd be naked. I mean dressed."
Yeah, we never had a shot like this in the Reeve movies, I don't think.
No.
The naivete of Clark, I don't think he realizes what he's doing to Lois at that moment, or what he, even after the fact. I'm not sure he's aware of that.
Oh, no. I think you're right. So while he gets dressed, he looks around his apartment or hotel, whatever it is, and she sees that he basically eats like an 8-year-old.
Yeah, man.
He's like, "What's the secret? You eat like an 8-year-old, but you look like that."
Mr. Hardbody is what she calls him. Yeah.
I don't even think he answers her. That they could have had a funny line.
He never thought about that before, probably. It's like,
Yeah. So they get back to the office, then Platt's wife and daughter come in, and we find out that he actually made them leave because he was afraid that he was going to get hurt, that the knowledge would get him killed. And obviously he did. So she begs for their help. And then we see a news report. The Council of Nations rejects Luthor's proposal. So he couldn't get Rosart on board.
He upset. Yeah.
Yep.
You remember that discussion we had on the Street Fighter movie about whether they can use the United Nations name legally or not? And if they tried, they got denied again because they're what are they? The League of Nations? The United what?
I don't know. Anyways, they say they're going to launch, and they'll cancel if they have problems, whatever. And at some point, some stuff that Jimmy was working on came back, and they decide that Platt was proven right.
Okay.
Did you catch this?
I was probably zoning out at that point.
This was anticlimactic. They used whatever Jimmy came back with to write the story.
Okay. But Perry White is not impressed. Is that what follows that?
Well, I don't think they've written the story yet. But yeah, that will come up in a little bit. But they have what they need. Because Clark said, "Well, let's celebrate. Let's get dinner." And she says, "Okay," but then she remembered that Luthor and her were going to have a dinner interview.
Oh, yeah.
And then he calls her a snob. That sets her off. And that's where you get your 3 rules. Never get involved with your story.
Yeah.
No one else will ever get there first. And never sleep with anyone I work with.
They're pretty good rules. I like those as rules. Yeah. She doesn't live by them. But yes.
Yeah. So then you got the interview, which she's annoying him with all the questions. She asks him what he wants. He says, "I want pleasure." She says, "Not power?" He says, "No, power is a means to an end." And then he talks about how she's all work and no play, and that they should just enjoy the evening and enjoy each other.
Oh.
And he'll give her a quote for a quid pro quo. He sees, quote, a potential in her.
Uh-huh.
But she says, "I'm going to go home with no dessert. Got a story to write."
That's a double entendre, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
ABC 1993 version.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Now, Clark's kind of nosy, and he's followed her home. Luthor drops her off, gives her a goodnight kiss. She likes it, but she broke the rules, and she didn't get the interview.
Yeah.
Clark's kind of being nosy from outside the window, but he floats away.
Not quite as creepy as the Superman Returns child stalking, but it's a little bit on the creepy side. He's like, all right, that's a little too much there, Clark.
Yeah. So they finish the story at this point. Perry reads it and says, I can't print this. Because the story is basically that Prometheus is going to blow up. He's like, there's no evidence. Quote, hard facts are the name of this game. Go out and get me some.
You tell him, Perry.
Yeah. Lois goes to snoop with Jimmy. Perry uses the leaves that Clark suggested. They throw that in there to lower his blood pressure.
He didn't get a whole lot of them. I wonder how much he paid for that little box.
I don't know. I'm not sure where Clark is in the scene, but when they get to the area, she recognizes that this phony shell was being made for the ship because she saw the messed up one, or that it would have exploded. So they sneak into the offices to get evidence of that, and they get caught. The evil lady wants to kill her. Lex says no. She objects. He says, you're going to get your final installment of payment in the helicopter in a few minutes.
I like that. Foreshadowing, yeah. That's good.
So when I say they got caught, they were seen on camera. So then she goes to disobey Luthor and to kill them.
She has a goon with her.
Oh, yeah. They find the wreckage. Jimmy's taking pictures. Then the strong guy, he doesn't have a name. I just wrote strong guy. Chokes him out. But then Lois takes out the strong guy with a purse.
Hey, modern women right there.
Yeah, but the evil lady's got a gun. And the muscle guy gets up.
The gun always beats the strong woman. That's how it goes, man. Okay.
Yeah, so they're caught. Now, for some reason, Perry's got a late night staff meeting.
That was kind of odd, too, isn't it? So he's reviewing the stories.
I mean, did they call them all in? I mean, seems like they would have gone home.
Looks like it's a regular thing, too.
Yeah, maybe it's like a Thursday night kind of thing.
All right.
But Clark says he wants to call and see where Jimmy and Lois are. Perry says, okay. Yeah. And he goes to the storage closet. He's about to fly out the window, and Perry walks in.
He didn't waste any time following him. That was kind of odd timing, I will say.
No, it was. It makes you wonder if they cut something. Because it's very odd.
Because Perry even says, they said you were in here. Like, man, Clark Kent is terrible about not being seen.
Oh, yeah. And he asked if he made the call, and he said it was just about to. And Perry asked him if he's looking for something. And then he asked, when are you coming out of the closet, son? And he says, very soon.
Hey, which I don't know how they were intending that to come across in 92, but it's obviously
that's exactly how they intended for it to go across. It was the 90s.
It's a reference to Superman, but Perry doesn't know that. But I'm not sure what Perry is really talking about. Yeah, it's like
no, it was a forced scene. Like they wanted that scene.
Yeah,
and they shoehorned it in, and it kind of works, but not really if you think about it too hard.
No, it's hilarious, but I mean,
so. Eventually, Clark gets to the facility. He busts in all strong, and then he realizes that he is Clark Kent, and he has to play weak because he has no costume.
It's funny. Most everybody seems to see him bust the door open. It seems like it. Yeah.
And he ends up tied to a pole with Lois, and while he's freeing his hands, she has a mental breakdown, admits to have broken all three of her rules.
That's hilarious.
Always gets involved with the stories, slept with Claude, and then lost the story to him.
I don't think Claude ever shows up in the show. That would have been interesting.
That would have been. What would a Claude look like?
Probably like the sports editor. I forget his name in the DC. He's probably in this new movie.
They should have brought in Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, as Claude. He was
probably too expensive in 93, though.
You could have done it as a guest. You could have done a one-off guest. You know, they had Bo Jackson appear, not in a full episode, but in the intro. It's possible. It's possible.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying he was probably making too much money on his movies at that point.
I think the way it would have worked is if it's part of that studio favor related to a future movie. You know, like you do this so we can give you that.
Yeah, I could have had Jean-Claude Van Damme Superman fight. So, well, Clark cheers her up, says everyone at the planet, including Perry, thinks she's the best reporter ever. She talks about how sorry she is for how she's been treating him. But then the bad lady comes in. She admits her motive of profit. Says they're going to die as a result of an accidental explosion when the chemicals mix together.
Yeah.
Gives Clark a kiss and leaves.
Ooh, harassment right there.
Yeah. Well, Clark busts free immediately. Tells Lois there was a missing link in the chain. I don't know if that makes sense. But, whatever.
I kind of thought he was talking about, like somehow he was the missing link. But yeah, you're probably right. It's just talking about the chain.
Yeah, I don't know if that would get him out of that situation.
Yeah.
He picks up Jimmy with almost like one hand, grabs Lois. They're running out. The explosion happens, and they, quote, get thrown. He flies.
It's a good shot. I like that.
Feet. It's good enough where they used it in the opening credits for the rest of the season.
I think it's the rest of the series. It's in there. They even use it right before they display the title of the show.
Yeah, and I will say it doesn't look that good. So I can see why they used it, because there's not a lot of Clark shots, and
it's
any
fine.
of the special effects look great, but it's fine.
It's fine.
They land in the mud, and then you see a helicopter explode in the background.
That part was a little bit of a letdown. I feel like for as important as Dr. Baines was in Lex's past in this episode, she should have had a moment of realization that she'd been duped, but I guess that's what they had to cut. Maybe it was a censorship thing, who knows.
Well, that was probably the worst CGI effect, or what do you want to call it, special effect in the show. The helicopter kind of disappears before a fireball appears. It's not a real smooth. Like, they didn't put the fireball on there and then remove the plane. It was more of a simultaneous thing.
Yeah, they should have had stock footage that would have been better than that somewhere.
It made the Hulk falling out of the airplane in the movie and the death of the Hulk look good.
But ultimately, we don't think about it too much because, the main characters aren't involved at that point. She was out of the story one way or the other, even if the helicopter did get away.
So then they show Luthor, so they make the connection that he did it. Obviously, we knew that anyways. So they're having a party at the planet. The launch is set for tomorrow morning. Lois finds out she can't go. No reporters.
Oh.
But Platt's widow and his daughter are back on board, so they can go with Prometheus and get healed.
All right. Just like that.
Yeah, Lois thanks Clark and threatens him that she will deny everything she said. He says, "You can trust me." And she's like, "Sure I can, Claude." And then we get Clark back with his parents. He's there to get his disguise.
Yeah.
Lots of bad costumes.
We get a montage. I like the Captain America costume he had for a little bit.
Yeah, you got this. The starts off with a leopard print. I'm not quite sure what they're going for there. Then you had the baseball cap with wings, kind of like Captain America. You had a purple Daredevil looking suit. You had the partial Captain America suit with different colors.
They linger on that a little bit longer than the other ones, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. And then you get the Superman suit without the S. And
yeah.
So I have to say, having watched multiple episodes, I want to look up and see an article about these Superman suits. There is no consistency in these first 7 episodes.
Specifically the cape, or it's been a while since I've seen it.
The cape and the neckline. So I think it's episode 3, he gets like an updated suit, and I can't recall why exactly.
They make a comment in this episode that he doesn't know about the cape.
Yeah. So he gets his new one in, I think it's episode 3, and it's got a different cape line. Whereas not so much in this show, actually it's in part 2 where it gets weird. This cape looks more like it does once it's updated. But in the meantime, after this show, he's got one that doesn't really go around his neck, but it's just kind of like it's just connected different. That's the best way of saying it.
All right.
But the other thing is with his crappier suit that he eventually wears is like he almost shows cleavage.
Oh,
yeah,
little bit
so it's really weird. Yeah.
Okay. Huh.
So, and that's in the same episode. So like in episode 3, he gets his new suit, and then they show him, and he's wearing another suit that looks like it's been stretched out. And even I showed it to Emily. She's like, "What in the world?"
Huh.
Editing is that? Yeah. So, and then he goes back in the next scene to his new suit. So it's back and forth, but episode by episode, I don't know if the suits weren't holding up and they were just trying something different each time or what, but a lot of suit inconsistencies for a while.
All right.
Anyways, that's the only time to really throw that in there. And then she pulls out, I guess, I can't remember what she said. Where did the S come from?
The spaceship. The blanket. It was in the blanket in the spaceship with him.
Yeah. So his mama puts the S on the suit, and it does look kind of cheap, but, whatever.
That's what they're going for, though. He's very clear his mother made his suit.
Yeah. And then he goes out, they show it to the dad, and dad's like, he makes a joke about how they won't recognize him, and he takes his glasses on, glasses off, glasses on, glasses off.
Because it won't be me.
Yeah, it won't be me.
All right.
So I like them throwing that in there. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
And then we see Lois sneaking on board the aircraft. So before we get into what happens next, how is she going to get home?
So I thought it was just like a ceremonial blast off, visit, and come back. I didn't think they were supposed to stay there after they docked in the station long term.
Okay. I thought they were going to live there so they could be healed.
Well, you bring that point up, and maybe you're right, but they haven't done any research yet, so I don't know on that point. It's a fair question.
I mean, typically those things they come up with are not the same things they come down in. Now, maybe in this ship they would, but
Huh.
is this normally the kind of thing that falls apart as it goes up? I don't know.
Well,
Anyways, I felt like it was a little weird. So she sneaks off to a side room. She sees a bomb on the wall.
convenient.
Yeah, new way of sabotage. But the launch has already been initiated, so she starts cutting random wires.
Yeah.
They recognize the problem and they stop the launch. Feels like that was a little more complicated than it needed to be. And I think they make mention on the newscast, which Clark's watching with his parents in Smallville, that there's some kind of mechanical issue. And then before they even say, Clark, you might need to go, Superman is off and to the rescue. Is that a bird? A plane? No, just a guy in a pair of tights and a cape.
That scene was awkward. The bystanders. I feel like that was a favor to somebody's brother-in-laws to put cameos in of people I don't recognize, because that doesn't. It's funny, but it doesn't make any sense in universe.
No, it's almost like, hey, this is our pilot episode. We need to work in all these homages to the previous stuff in case we get canceled.
I guess, yeah.
So I don't know.
It's like, it's almost like they throw food at him when he says "guy in a cape and tights."
Oh yeah,
like they were all in on the joke.
They didn't get the joke, or they didn't like the joke. I don't know. So Superman gets there. He gets the bomb, rips it off the wall, eats the bomb, and burps.
So I like that. It's less dramatic than I remembered it being, but it's funny. He eats it.
I guess that's what happens when you don't have the budget for an explosion. You burp instead. Then Lois asks him, "What the hell are you?" And I don't think he answered. But that may have been the only profanity in the show.
No, the guy in the crowd said that too.
Okay.
Somebody else said it earlier, but I don't remember who did what.
It's a pretty clean show overall in terms of that kind of stuff. But
they probably cuss more in the pilot than they do any of the other episodes. That was, Dukes of Hazzard, to bring that up again. They had more profanity in the pilot early episodes than they did once they sort of figured out their audience.
Yeah. I don't know if this show ever did figure out its audience.
No, it was all over the place after season 2. I'll say that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the mission has to get scrubbed though because they lost the rocket. Well, then Superman, he decides, we can still do it. So he tells them to get on the aircraft, and he takes it upon himself to thrust the ship into orbit. Gives them a boost. I feel like you would need to run that by some authorities.
Well, he's Superman. Even though he said he does say later on he lives by the law, but there's probably no law that a man can't lift a space station without.
I feel like they should have had to do a safety check.
It would. Well, you know what? There could have been something else wrong with that rocket shuttle. Could have been.
True.
And he didn't know, but well.
And all right, and then I asked myself, I guess Lois got off the ship. How is she going to get back?
Does she get a ride with Superman through outer space?
Well, it's implied that yes. So next scene is Superman flies Lois back to the planet. She's not wearing a helmet of any sort. So I guess they're carrying that over from the movies. And then we get the first Perry White line about Elvis.
Great shades of Elvis.
Lois has been swept off her feet by an alien. He promises her an exclusive of sorts. Then he wire floats away. It says, "I'll be around."
He makes the comment at some point that he's a friend, which is a likely reference to the Reeve movies. But I forget if he says it to the little girl or Lois or somebody else.
Didn't Reeve say, "I'll be around"?
Probably.
I feel like they're copying that off something. Can't quite put my finger on it. And we see that the S stands for Superman.
Dumb. But he doesn't know he's got a name yet till he goes to talk to Lex Luthor.
Yeah. So Superman goes to confront Lex. He says, "I know who you really are."
I don't know why he knows that.
Yeah. It's a bit of a stretch.
It would have been one thing if, like, Dr. Baines had an interaction with him before she died. But I don't know that that's clear that he would have that special knowledge that nobody else would have.
No, I mean, he would know that Bane killed Platt. She would know that someone killed her. And he would know that he tried to make his own space station and then didn't get his way. And then this one almost blew up. So, I mean, you can make an argument that Lex Luthor would have had the tech for the bomb. But, I mean,
it's an excellent suspicion, but without the hard facts, as Perry White said, it's not quite where it ought to be on that.
Yeah. But he doesn't deny it, really. So, he says he would have made billions off the vaccines developed once he replaced the spaceship.
Yeah.
He says, "Let the games begin."
It's a good interaction between the two of them. I think they copied this in the pilot of the 1996 Superman animated series right at the end here.
Okay. Then Soups leaves, but he says if you need to find him, just look up.
Oh, that's a callback. to the
It
earlier.
is. And Luthor, he's offended. You can tell.
It's good. That's the way you end the series right there. That's in the pilot to start off the series.
Yeah, they should have ended the episode there, but it doesn't actually end. They go back to Clark going back to work. He's talking to Lois. She's talking about how magnificent Superman is. She asks him if he's jealous. And then they go to get a new story about a shootout on 6th. So,
which nobody cares about that one.
No.
Yeah.
Overall, though, I like it. It's got a lot going on. They could have maybe simplified some things, but it's introduction to all the characters, and all the characters are so good.
Here's a question for you. It's a little bit of a general Superman question. If Clark Kent is not a disguise for Superman, why does Clark Kent wear glasses?
Well, so they look different. I mean, you
But
can't have glasses
again-
on Superman.
At least in this series, he's wearing glasses when he shows up in Metropolis. Superman does not exist. Why does he keep the glasses on?
Oh, yeah, I get what you're saying. There's
Now,
no plan yet.
there's an explanation. There is an explanation. It would be that he grew up wearing glasses because he really needed them. And when his eyesight corrected, he just thought it would be better to keep the glasses on. Right?
Yeah, but they had LASIK surgery by 93.
But he wouldn't have got, Smallville isn't getting LASIK surgery. That would be the thing.
Well, but he wouldn't. It doesn't make sense why he would need to keep him in Metropolis, though.
Yeah, maybe he just likes to wear them. That's the only thing I can figure out.
I feel like if I didn't need my glasses, I would misplace them frequently because I wouldn't think about the fact that I needed them. So,
yeah, so
does no one in Superman's life ever try his glasses on and see that they're not real lenses?
I don't know about that. That's one of those things. It makes sense in most other Superman media because they are trying to disguise Clark Kent. But in this one, Clark Kent is the real guy, and wouldn't that be funny if Superman was the guy to wear glasses instead of Clark Kent?
Yeah, well, it makes sense in other mediums just because there's some version of Superboy already to have going on. So there would have been a need as he's growing up to have that visual difference. But
yeah.
So do you have any critiques about this show? Not necessarily the episode.
Oh, the show. Well, plenty of critiques about the show, but it's hard to work that in.
Let's work with season 1. Any critiques about the way they start the thing off?
No Tony J, right?
Okay.
I guess I wasn't sure how much they continued that idea. Does Lois just not want a man, or does she only want Superman? And that was always the divide in the show because, Clark wishes she'd be interested in him, but she's interested in Superman. But does she still have that feeling guilty about mixing her professional career with getting involved in that?
They play it up as if all the men she meets, none of them are good enough for her. Like they don't appreciate her drive. And then she's like, I'm looking for a Superman of sorts, and I'll wait for him. And then you get Superman showing up, and I think the idea is she eventually sees Clark as not Superman, capital S, a super guy as well.
Well, she already saw him in not naked, but she saw him. She liked what she saw when she saw Clark Kent at home. So,
pilot. What are we gonna rank it out of?
Space station models or edible bombs?
Shades of Elvis.
Shades of Elvis.
Leaves.
Huh.
I don't remember what kind of leaves they were.
Papa leaves, or maybe it's Papa leaves. Maybe we can do Papa leaves. I'm all in to try and do things to improve the blood pressure. I'm all in favor of that.
All right. What are you going to give it?
Well, again, it's a tough to even think of criteria because we've never done a TV straight-up episode before. Even we've done TV specials and TV movies. Now, if I were to rank this as a pilot to a TV show episode, which is what TV series, which is what it is, a pilot to a TV series, it's an episode, double links. I'd give it very high marks. I'd give it at least 4 stars, I think, to kick this series off. If I were to rank it as a TV movie, which it is not, and I'm a little bit surprised if they didn't put this out on a separate VHS tape at some point. I don't know how that worked, releasing this show on home video. But if you were to treat this as a TV movie, it lacks a little bit of the pizzazz. It's very similar to those early Captain America movies without the nice the helicopter shots and all that. So it just lacks a little bit of what you'd want in a TV movie. And the Superman costume comes in late. I guess I'd give it 2.5 to 3 Papa Leaves if it was a TV movie, but because it is a TV episode, I'll just give it 4 out of 5 Papa leaves.
Okay. Yeah, I'm probably gonna give it 3.5 out of 5. Papa leaves as an episode, as a pilot, as a TV movie. I mean, however you want to define this particular one, because I don't think this is the best example of this show, honestly. But
No.
I think it does a good job of what it's trying to do. I think the characters are all great, so I'll give it 3 out of 5 as this particular pilot. But as a
Yeah.
whole for the show, I love the show. I will say that.
Yeah. Does what it needs to do.
Yeah.
I wonder, I assume they probably aired this as an ABC primetime special, but did they air the pilot in future? Did they break it up to re-air it?
Yeah, well, again, this is Wikipedia, but according to Wikipedia, this is actually episodes 1 and 2, so I think they probably did.
Where was the break?
I
Where
couldn't
would that have
find
been?
it. I'm not sure. Maybe because the first episode bounced around so much, like it was harder for me to identify the natural breaks.
Okay. Yeah, I had trouble too. It feels a little bit more like a TV movie because you can't easily in your brain remember where the commercial breaks would have been.
Yeah, and I don't know that when they aired it initially that they even I don't know if they redid the opening sequence. They may have just kept rolling with it when it ran initially. That would be curious to know if they edited it all when it went to reruns or whatever.
Yeah.
But, well, that's Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. Got any closing thoughts?
I already brought up the deal with the glasses. I don't know if I have any other thoughts.
Okay. Well, I hope everyone has a great week, and I hope they are the healthier shades of Elvis. Talk to y'all later.
Bye-bye.